Jesus said to the Jews who were believing in him, "If you continue in my word, you will be my disciples in truth. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Today, or this week in Lectio Divina, several of us chose to meditate on that word continue, or remain, or abide. The Anabaptist pun is that in Greek the word is meno. So meno in my love. And that's what we've done already in the prayer time. We've been abiding in this word, the word. If you remain in my word, Jesus says, you will be my disciples. And then talks about the truth and how the truth is freeing for us. Jesus said, "I am the truth, the way, the truth, and the life." So this morning we think together about freedom, and to be set free is to recognize that there are things that have held us back, that have kind of locked us up, kept us trapped. The Jews didn't like that idea at all. Immediately following that, the text that we haven't continued reading, they said, "We've never been tied up." What do you mean? We haven't been hog-tied. Sure, sometimes we're tied up, we're tied down with all the things we have to do. We've tied the knot a few times, but no, we're free. So this morning, I expect you're going to wonder about this little experiment that I'm inviting you to do. And that is, would you like to pick up one of those ties, or at least a rubber band, and wrap it around some part of you, your ankle or your wrist, or if you're real brave, I did this one by myself, tie your wrists together if you like, or get a little help. And if you don't have a band, let us know so that we can get it for you. Now, over the course of the next few minutes while we're visiting together, I'm inviting you to think about what it is that you find binding. We heard the message earlier about how sin can be a binding thing, and that's what Jesus says. It's any way in which we get off center that can be binding for us. As you were leading us to meditate, I thought about how easily, when I lose the center, I get into worse places. I like to, when I get somewhere, wonder if there's another way to get back. And I've gotten into some real jams by trying to do my own route instead of continuing in the center, centering in Jesus. This is a freeing direction, not a captivating. So one of the ways of thinking about this is, what are the ways in which truth can lock me up? How is it that I've experienced things that I thought were true, and it turned out they weren't centering, they weren't liberating, there was none of that for me. So there's something about the truth that leads me into greater freedom. That's a good test of the kinds of things that I'm believing, the things I accept as facts. So we're asking, what has you tied up in knots? And this week on NPR, John Ward talked about being a recovering fundamentalist. He talked about being a recovering fundamentalist. And he said, reflecting on this has taught me that truth is not a set of answers that you begin with and then you retroactively fit into your questions. He says, that's the way I was raised. One door and only one, and so on. A lot of things that we would like to put into boxes labeled true or false defy our ability to do that. So Audrey lauded the student who came asking questions, good questions about God. Part of what we're asking today is, what are the true statements about God? We ask that every time when we're together. And what are the true statements about us as the people of God? The true statements are the ones that set us free, and the false statements are the ones that lock us up. Ward again. Fundamentalism is this desire to put answers out of reach of questioning. I think one of the ice-breaking statements for me has been a very simple one. It's just, I could be wrong. I've embraced that over the years, and it's been liberating in so many ways. Steve Cleary gives me his biggest compliment when he says, when we were in class together and somebody asked this great question and you said, I don't know, it was the best moment of the whole class. You weren't giving us all your answers anymore. I think it's a compliment. You recognize that there's some stuff we just don't know. Isn't that liberating? Isn't that a lot more fun than listening to somebody tell you what all the right answers are? I love the idea that if I say we know it, we've eliminated the need for faith. That to me has become such an exciting thing about faith. I don't actually know if this is true or real, and I'm on a quest to go onward and upward, he says. Is that liberating? Is that scary? John Ward finds it freeing. I think many of us do too. Rollo May is the existentialist psychologist or philosopher. And he agrees with this idea. That is, that facts and analysis and information are not the route to freedom. Not primarily, not exclusively, not all by themselves. It's not to say that there aren't true facts or there isn't true information, but it's not really the route to being liberated. Rollo May says what you need to experience is this deep encounter with what is real within you and within the world. And he describes it this way. He tells a story of a 28-year-old who he says was a very articulate communicator. She had been raised in the southwestern part of the United States by relatives. She was born illegitimately, and her mother reminded her repeatedly, "You're an illegitimate child. I wish I had aborted you. I wish you'd have taken your own life." Can you imagine growing up in that turmoil? Somehow she found her way to Rollo May and to his therapy, and she wrote about her existential experience, her coming to the I am. She said, I was walking at night in a slum area under the L, and it dawned on me that I can experience what it would be like to be black in a world where privileged whites are restricting my freedom. I can experience what it is to be blind in a community of seeing people. And then she woke in the middle of the night and she said, I can accept the fact that I'm an illegitimate child. But I'm not a child anymore. So I'm illegitimate. But if I'm not a child, I had an illegitimate birth, but I'm not an illegitimate person. So what is the truth? Well, it's simply, I am. And she was set free. She said it was like going to the Garden of Eden and not having to worry about what was good and evil anymore. I was able to walk with the gardener. I was set free by that experience of not being tied down with the lies that I'd been told through the years. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Encountering Jesus gives us that kind of being set free. So have you thought at all about the kind of knots that you might be tied up in? I remember shortly after I'd gotten this appointment at the seminary in administration, and going to my physician and saying, I need something to help me sleep through the night. Can you give me a sleeping tablet? Just can't sleep. And he said, the truth is not that you have a sleep problem, but that you have an anxiety problem. It's tied to depression, tied to anger. Those are the things that that woman that Rollo May was working with said she had in her heart. I had those in my life. He said the truth to me about these things, and it was liberating. Bupropion and citalopram are wonderful assists from the Creator to help me live a more free way, to recognize stuff that's been in my family for generations, and liberating. Now, I don't know if that's the thing within you that is liberating, but what is it personally that you find ties you down, and what is the word that can set you free? And it's not just individual, of course. Audrey's already done a beautiful job of helping us reflect, and boy, that first hymn was wonderful, wasn't it? About the way in which we are grateful for the blue skies over America and recognize that they're just as blue over the Ukraine and China and every other country in the world. So, on this day in which we celebrate the liberation that comes because this country was built on bombs bursting in air, the truth is that building more bombs is not making us any freer. That's true. And what is it about the Second Amendment that has us all tied up in knots anyway? That penchant for violence is something that goes beyond any individual. How can we give witness to the fact that we can be liberated from the lies that are pressed upon us? Here's a good lie that I live by. If you save, if you accumulate, you're going to be happier than if you spend it kind of, too generous of a way. That's what the prodigal does. But accumulate just a little more. Every dollar you have just is a dollar happier. That's a lie. You know what? It doesn't work that way. I get more anxious, not less, when I keep an eye on that nest egg and see what's happening to it. And anybody else experience that? In fact, just be suspicious of the word security. The Security Exchange Commission, Social Security, National Security, those are damn lies. And today is a day to reflect on the way in which we are being liberated, can be liberated, can be set free by this focus on Jesus. Jesus is the center, community is the center, peacemaking is the center. So, are you finding yourself moving into greater freedom? Well, then you've discovered the truth. You're experiencing, you're growing into the truth of the I am. I am the way, the truth, and the life. You shall know the truth. It's an experience. It's not a set of facts. It's not a stack of PhDs that you've got in your closet. It's an encounter together with the people of God. Oh, you know what? If it's not just a bunch of facts, maybe it's a song. Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar produced Freedom. Has some of these words. Lord, forgive me, I've been running blind in truth. Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose, singing, freedom, freedom, where are you? Because I need freedom. I break chains all by myself, won't let my freedom rot in hell. What you want from me? Is it truth you seek? Oh, Father, can you hear me? Hear me out. Had my ups and downs, served lemons, but made lemonade. Freedom, freedom. Cut me loose, singing freedom. Finding truth. Truth is, I hardly even know how to pronounce Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar. But I do remember back to the early 70s when the five-man electrical band was performing. They got to number 3 with this song, Signs. The sign said, long-haired, freaky people need not apply. So I tucked all my hair up under my hat, and I went in to ask him why. He said, you look like a fine, upstanding young man. I think you'll do. So I took off my hat and said, imagine that. Me working for you. Whoa. There are a few more stanzas like that that I thought were lots of fun, worth memorizing. And the sign said, he's been to our church. Look at that. Jesus welcomes all. Everybody welcome. Come in. Kneel down and pray. But when they passed around the plate, at the end of it all, I didn't have a penny to pay. So I got me a pen and a paper and made my own little sign. Thank you, Lord, for thinking about me. I'm alive and doing fine. We are going to come to the table in a moment, the liberating table, the table of freedom. As you come, I invite you to find some symbol if you'd like, a rubber band or a band. Bring it forward and allow Jesus to cut you free, free to participate in the table of the good news. You shall know the truth, Jesus the Lord, and the truth shall set you free. Amen.